Well, hi there. I'm Randy Cross, and this is the Randy Cross Podcast. I want to thank you for joining us this week. Not much of a change-up, though it's going to be missing a few segments. We've got a pretty good interview with Aaron Murray, CBS Sports, former quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs, played some in the NFL too. We go through an awful lot of what's going on in college football. Also, we're going to have a feel-good story of the week. We're going to have our normal happy trails, all that. But I wanted to start out by just saying something very, very simple. Go vote. Please go vote. 2008 and 2016 are the biggest elections from a turnout standpoint that we've seen in the last, 50, 60 years. And that was 60.1% of the vote turned out. Last time in 2016, that equaled about 130-ish, 134 million people actually voted. And they're saying that we're going to get an all-time turnout. We've had an all-time turnout already for, pre-voting and early voting and absentee voting, hopefully, because anything besides absentee is a joke. There are 240 million Americans that are 18 plus. I fully expect 240 million people to take it seriously and go vote. You got to do it. You don't have a choice. It's not optional. I don't feel like it. I don't like those guys. You know what? Suck it up and be an adult. That's why you have to be over 18 to vote. Be an adult. Go do your constitutional duty and go vote. It takes you about, some places it'll take you 5 minutes. Some places it might take you 5 hours. It's worth it. It's your future. It's your kids' future. It's all of our futures. Go vote. All right, let's go back to football and talk to Aaron Murray. And as promised, joined right now by Aaron Murray, former University of Georgia quarterback. Spent some time in the NFL, but has spent now more time as a TV analyst working with CBS Sports all over the place. This last weekend, he did Wyoming and Nevada. And when you do Wyoming and Nevada and live in the Eastern time zone, that usually means you get back sometime Sunday night. And welcome back, and thank you for taking the time to do this, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, the West Coast games are tough. It used to be nice when you can go out to the West Coast and we always say you gain a few hours and have a little bit more time on your hands. But the only issue is with this COVID going on, it just means more time in the hotel room doing nothing. So there's not a lot of excitement going out to the West Coast. And, I got a super champ of a wife who has been taking care of our 4-month-old while I'm been gone for 3 or 4 days on the road covering these games for the past month. So she's awesome. And I was like, baby, just 2 more months. As soon as we get to January, February, you can go on your little girl trips if this thing clears up, and I'll take care of the baby on the weekend. So, yeah, she's doing awesome, but I'm just glad to be on the road covering games, some good football games. Big Ten, Mountain West back this weekend, which was awesome to see.
Yeah, there was, and there were quite a few pretty fun games. I mean, one game really stood out to me as a watch out moment, which kind of got ruined yesterday, and that was that game Friday night with Wisconsin when Graham Mertz, finally Wisconsin, since Russell Wilson, when he transferred in for his 1 year, they looked like they had a guy that could throw. They looked like they had a guy that could run a real offense. And you kind of got excited about the possibilities. And then Sunday, he tests positive for COVID. So
yeah, I know. In 21 days, he has to sit out. I'm sure they'll give him a couple more tests, and they're hoping that the saving effect works for him, because he was absolutely incredible and complete control of the football there versus Illinois on Friday night. I mean, he was fun to watch. I mean, you said it, to finally have a quarterback for so long, this team and pretty much forever has been run. And obviously you lose a great running back and Jonathan Taylor, and you're like, okay, how do you replace that production? Who's going to be the next running back in line? We're not even talking about quarterback. We're talking about who is going to be that next guy in the backfield, or is it going to be 2 or 3 guys running the rock for Wisconsin this year. And then all of a sudden, comes Graham in Friday night's game saying, listen, we don't need a running back. You just need a quarterback and some receivers on the outside, and I can get this thing done. So, I mean, he was on fire, just back and forth over and over again. And it wasn't just, dink and dunks. I mean, you see some stat lines for quarterbacks nowadays. You're like, man, he threw for 70% completion, 75%, 80%. That's awesome. And you look at the film, and it's all RPOs. It's bubbles, it's slants, it's quick hitches. That wasn't the case. I mean, he was throwing dagger routes. He's throwing post balls. He's throwing goes. He's throwing deep ends. These weren't easy throws. And he was just completing it, man. It was just one of those nights that everything seemed to work out perfectly. And that's tough to do on air. That's tough to do week one. And it's definitely tough to do against a different opponent. So hopefully somehow, like I said, he gets the Nick Saban effect and somehow tests negative a few times, because it's really unfortunate for him and that football team to have that energy. And then, he's most likely, if he continues to positive, is going to be out for 3 football games.
Wow. Yeah, that's something. Hey, what have you made of the start that Trevor Lawrence and Clemson have gotten off to? I guess after the game Saturday night, Dabo got asked, not aggressive questions, but kind of like, what was wrong with you guys? Why'd you have to rally so much late? And he was like, well, wait a minute. Besides nobody asked him about his pink outfit, it was like, come on. I mean, we scored 47 points. What do you want? Has he kind of created a monster? He's going to have to be careful about how he really manages this thing.
Well, it doesn't help. The week before, they absolutely handed it to Georgia Tech. So everyone is then all of a sudden saying, okay, you do that to Georgia Tech, you should be able to do that to a Syracuse team that only has one win. It's their second or third string quarterback in right now. So I just think the expectations for Clemson every single week, and you look at the stat line, or not the stat line, but the Vegas line going on, and you're just like, man, like, how can you put a game at 40-plus points in a line? I mean, this is still a team in Syracuse that has scholarship players. Like, these dudes want to go out there and play, and obviously they're playing Clemson, so they're going to bring their A game. Mm-hmm. I just think the expectations are so high and so unrealistic when you look at Clemson. This is a elite football team. I still think they are the best football team in the country, but to think that they're going to go out there every single week, and we're talking about 18 to 22-year-old kids, and bring their A game and be able to win by 30 or 40 points, like I said, is just unrealistic for fans of Clemson and fans around the country who think they're that good, who think that they're an NFL type team that they can just go around and push everyone around. So, I still see them as, like I said, the number one team in the country. Offensively, there's no question the studs they have on that side with Trevor Lawrence and Etienne. And, the thing that's been most impressive to me this year is just how good their defense is. I mean, they're just deep, they're talented, they're fast, they're good at every single level, especially at the DBs, and that's what you kind of need in college football right now. You need 3 or 4 DBs that can match up with these spread offenses, and there's only a few teams in the country that I look around and say that can do that. That can match with, say, the speed of an Alabama on the outside, that can match with, the speed that even what Clemson has at their receiving position, and that is Clemson and Georgia. And then we saw with Georgia against Alabama, maybe even having 2 or 3 good DBs isn't even enough to slow down some of these elite offenses. So I just think, to me, they are complete. But, going back to the original point, it's unrealistic to think that these kids, young men, can go out there every single Saturday and just win by 40, 50, 60 points. It ain't going to happen. Just enjoy the fact that they're winning by 20, 30.
What kind of shape does this leave Alabama in? They got an easy win over Tennessee, but early on, Jalen Waddle went out, and they lose another great receiver. It seems like they just sort of unwrap another one at times. But when they, Michi kind of exploded in that first game, and everyone went, who? Yeah, and he had the 7 catches for 150 yards or so and a couple of touchdowns Saturday. But where does that leave these guys? Are they less of an offense without Jalen Waddle?
Yeah, obviously, anytime you lose Waddle, I mean, that kid is the most dynamic player in the country. I mean, not even on offense, but what he can bring to the special teams, kick return, punt return. I mean, that's, let's not forget about that facet of the football game and how much he can change field position with just a punt return, how much easier that makes it on the offense. And, it's going to hurt. It definitely is. But, I mean, the way Mac has been playing at quarterback right now, it just is. It's kind of like plug and place receivers, and they had Slade Bolden come in there at slot. He looked really good. And then if their defense continues to get better and better, they had obviously their slip up against Ole Miss, but Ole Miss is a really good offense. I mean, they're tough. The speed caught them off guard a little bit. Lane Kiffin just had their number that night. But I just think overall they're very similar to Clemson. Maybe not as good of a defense, but a very good defense. Max playing well, and then let's not forget Najee Harris, man. When in doubt, this team doesn't have to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game. I mean, if you're struggling throwing it, which I
just give it to them,
just hand the ball off to 22 behind that offensive line and let them do their thing back there running the football. I mean, go back to what we expect from Alabama: ground and pound, beat teams up. And maybe you're not winning by 20, 30 points. Maybe you're winning by 14, 17 points because you got to run the ball a little bit more. But, they can dominate. If they want to, they can dominate the line of scrimmage. They can wear teams out. It's going to hurt losing their top receiver. But the way Mac's playing right now, this offense will continue to chug along and just be perfectly fine.
It seems weird at times to talk about a monster ACC game. But November 7th, not this weekend, but the weekend after, we're going to get Clemson and Notre Dame. And that should be something. I mean, Notre Dame absolutely just punked Pittsburgh this weekend. What do you think about just a quick, give me a couple of quick thoughts on that game going down the road here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was honestly, surprised. I thought, to me, that game against Pittsburgh may give Notre Dame some issues, just because I watched Notre Dame and, I just see all the offensive struggles. To me, Notre Dame is very similar in my mind to what Georgia is. A team that plays really well defensively, a team that is going to have to take care of the ball on the offense side of the football and just not super flashy. I mean, I obviously I'd give the nod to Notre Dame and Ian Book at the quarterback position to compare to what Georgia is trying to figure out right now and see if they took advantage of the off week to kind of hone in on that position going forward for the rest of the season. But, to me, Notre Dame will continue to still struggle offensively. I think they're a team that is going to have to dominate, like I said, on the defense side of the football. Ian Book takes care of, on the offense side of the football. He doesn't commit a lot of turnovers, which is great. But still, when you compare him to a team like Clemson, who, like I said earlier, plays really well on both sides of the football, who can, against anyone in the country, put up 35 to 50 points, even against elite defenses, I just don't think Notre Dame can match that on the offense side of the football. I think that's where they're going to struggle. So, to me, there's just not enough playmakers there. I know they love their young tight end. I'm a big fan of Ian Book, a playmaker that is, like I said, going to be able to take some big plays and make that game close against Clemson.
Cool. Hey, what did you think of Ohio State's first game? Pretty much what you expected to see out of the Buckeyes. I know Justin Fields, he puts up some pretty silly numbers. I mean, when you're 20-21 and doing what he did and playing on that kind of a team, that's kind of a warning to their next opponents, isn't it?
Yeah, and listen, I thought Nebraska came out fine pretty hard too, and you take away a couple turnovers from Nebraska, and then maybe that game's a little bit closer. It's still, I think Ohio State wins by double digits, but I was impressed by Nebraska. I really was. I thought they came out fighting hard. They had a great first drive. Martinez did a great job, but it's just, it's kind of like the what we just talked about with Notre Dame and Clemson. I mean, can you keep up with that kind of production on the offensive side of the football and score enough points to make it a game? And, with those offenses of Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson, they're just too much. Good offenses are going to beat good defenses nowadays. It's just the way college football is. And Ohio State with Justin Fields and those receivers they have, they're just going to beat great defenses over and over again. And him, I was really impressed from, what I saw out of Justin from going back to his time at Georgia, because I went to a ton of the spring practices and watched him in his time when he would come in for Jake Fromm. And, he was a kid that they used to run the football, big, physical, had a big arm. And then last year, I thought he really focused hard on being a true quarterback, being a guy that can sit in the pocket, have calm feet, and not just be able to use a 99, 100 mile per hour fastball, but have some touch, have some anticipation, throw a catchable football that's not putting a hole in his receiver's chest, but allowing him to catch it and then run afterwards. And really took a huge step last year in that department. I think he took another step forward. Just watch him this weekend. It's catchable footballs. That's what it's about. So many kids nowadays, they want to have the big rocket arm. They want to be able to put the hole through the receiver's chest. And that's not what it's about, man. It's about making it catchable, allowing the receiver to catch it in stride, get those yaks, those yards after catch, and putting it in a place where only your guy can catch it. And right now, when you watch him move around the pocket, he keeps his eyes up. Obviously, if he needs to run, he's big enough and fast enough to go out there and get some yards with his legs. But just his development with inside the pocket, to me, is just super dangerous. It keeps defenses honest. And this is a team, to me, there's three teams that are just on a different level in college football right now. And it's Clemson, it's Alabama, and now you throw in Ohio State in the mix. And it's just going to take a lot for any other team in the country to take one of these guys down this year.
Yeah, and maybe you might want to, add, or I might have wanted to add another Big Ten team like Penn State, who looked really good sort of on paper going in. But that game against Indiana will more than likely kind of crush their hopes in this kind of a weird 2020 COVID year in sports. But that's a game that won't be remembered as much for the upset as it will be for that last play.
Yeah, holy smokes, that was a heck of a last play. And I mean, what a game. You want to talk about Indiana, the big underdog heading into it, and just the effort to the thought about going for two there, just say, listen, boys, this is our opportunity. We're going to go for it. We're going to seize it. And I just love that mentality from a head coach. And then the effort play to reach out there and get in. And listen, it's bang, bang. It's so hard to see on that, and it's so hard to reverse. I mean, what's the call on the field? Once that's determined, it's almost innocent until proven guilty. And you just have to find some way to say, okay, that was not a touchdown. You got to find the best camera angle. That's always not the easiest thing to do, as well as we know and talked about before the show, that the best angle came out the day after, which does no one any help, but just probably piss off some more Penn State fans. But it's just a great effort. I mean, that's all it is at the end of the day. It's a kid just wanting to get in there for his teammates. It's a coach believing in his team that they can go out there and convert that 2-point conversion to win the game against Penn State and get that big upset. So, don't fault the refs too much. I know we like to bash the refs and blame them for everything and make excuses for for a loss, but those plays are just so hard. There's so much they're looking at, and at the end of the day, like I said, you just got to give the kid props for making it happen and getting in the end zone.
Last one here on the game side. What'd you think of Michigan going to Minnesota and dropping 49 on them? And especially, I was impressed with Joe Milton. It was, we talk about another Big Ten team that suddenly you looked at it and went, wow, they could be pretty good if they could have a quarterback, and Milton might be that guy.
Well, I think the biggest thing when I went back and watched that game is just they dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides. I mean, Michigan took it to them, and it was awesome to see a physical football team. And obviously Milton played well. He's a big kid, he's huge, and has a rocket arm, and he looked really good throughout the football game. But like I said, what won that game wasn't him. It was the way their offensive line played. I mean, they dominated Minnesota from the very first whistle, and then defensively they were able to get after the quarterback. Minnesota, I like their quarterback. I think he's good. He runs their offense well, but if he has to throw the ball down the field vertically over and over again, he doesn't have that kind of arm strength. That's just not his game. He's good when he can do the RPOs, the quick slants to Bateman in the inside. That's his game. That's how that team's going to win, and then run the football. But, when you're asking him to come back and try to push the ball vertically down the field, it's just not going to happen. Then you flip it over to the defense side of the football. I thought Michigan on that side, on the defensive line, did a tremendous job. When they knew it was a passing situation, number 19, I got it right here, Quiddy Payas or something like that. I got to figure out how to pronounce his name. But that kid on the outside is an absolute terror for Michigan. So, at the end of the day, early on in the season, it's about fundamentals, it's about blocking, it's about tackling. And when you watch that game, Michigan did the fundamentals well. Like I said, they blocked well offensively, they tackled well defensively, they got after the quarterback. And if their quarterback from Michigan, Milton, can continue to play well and progress, this is a physical football team, and that's something that you want, especially in the Big Ten.
COVID, no COVID, bad weather, good weather, doesn't matter. There's a lot of variables in the game of college football. Two things that right now just refuse to go away are problems with replay, and as it kind of relates to replay, the targeting rule. Is there a definitive rule on what in the God's green earth targeting is?
It's just, listen, I would hate to be a defender nowadays. And Joe Platt, I was watching obviously the Ohio State game, and he was getting upset a couple times about it, and he brought up the fact that there should be two separate fouls. One that's, obviously egregious, and then one that the kid launches and goes at helmet to helmet and tries to, pretty much decapitate some other player. You got knocked out type clip where we just want to get away from that. And that deserves to obviously be kicked out of the game, to have the suspension for a half. But then there's the one where it just happens so fast, where, a defender's going to go make a play, and then all of a sudden a receiver falls down, or, something crazy happens, because we know this game is just super fast, where it's not, he wasn't trying to go intentionally hurt the player. It just, something happened along the way that you could see, like, okay, this is why this helmet to helmet happened. This is why
that Aaron's the key word you just used, intent. Yeah. How in the hell does some guy sitting in front of monitors watching replays, how does he know the intent? And he's almost being asked to sort of give his opinion on the intent of that tackler.
Well, because we had one in my game this weekend in Wyoming versus Nevada where you saw the safety literally launch. I think launching obviously makes it easy. When you come off of 2 feet and launch and make contact above the shoulders, I think that is, okay, you're done. But I think as a referee, if you see, like, say a safety's coming up to make a play, ball's in the air, and the receiver goes to catch it and then starts to fall down, and you know that it looks like a clean tackle, that he's going shoulder pad and his aiming point was going to be the chest, but then all of a sudden receiver drops, that shoulder pad hits the helmet, and then there's contact, and then it's like, okay, we understand that there's a little bit maybe of helmet to helmet there, maybe shoulder pad, but his aiming point based on where he was launching to was going to be here. This is what happened because the receiver dipped a little bit low as well, and this is why the contact was made there. I just think you can look at the bigger picture and see how we got to that finish point and say, okay, that wasn't his aiming point, that wasn't his intention. It was unfortunate. We'll give him the 15-yard penalty, but he can stay in the football game. So I think at the end of the day, you can still throw the flag, give a 15-yard. I just think the kid should be allowed to stay in the football game. But if you see a kid launch, if you see a kid purposely put the crown of his helmet down and go at another player's head, like I said,
head and neck,
15 yards and he's out. So I don't know. Obviously it's going to come up to officiating and them being on the same page, and then it gets really tricky. Well, how do you determine it? But like I said, I just think too many times when we watch college football, you can tell the intent. You can tell what happened before the contact to kind of make a better decision if that warrants a player being ejected. Like I said, you can kick the 15 yards. Just, keep the kid in if it wasn't as aggressive and as intentional as some of the ones we've seen in the past.
Yeah, it's really sad because it is a safety issue, and no one's against making the game safer. I personally have no interest, and I think a lot of it goes back to coaching. You've got to coach this out of the game. It's got to be eliminated through that way more than anything else. The last thing I want to see is basically 7-on-7 where they let fat guys be on the field at the same time. Yeah. And that's what the NFL is headed towards. The NFL is basically 7-on-7 right now. Yeah. But it's.
I just don't know what you can ask a safety to do in those situations when the ball's in the air. I mean, are you supposed to just let him catch it and then try to figure out how to tackle him when you have to pretty much stop your feet while the receiver's in full momentum catching a football? I mean, it's just, like I said, unless you can literally see him launching and putting the crown of his helmet down, you got to allow those guys to go out there and try to make a football play.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Hey, Aaron, where are you at this week?
I am up at Utah State this weekend. First time up there at Utah State, got San Diego. Excited to see it. Boise State put it to Utah State a little bit. And, obviously they're trying to get their quarterback situation figured out after losing a first rounder. But defensively, I like Utah State. At least watching the game early in the week. But they got some dudes up front. They played well. Offensively, they got to continue to figure it out. And then, obviously, San Diego State, they just got so much talent there, especially at the running back position. So it's going to be a fun game. I think it'll be a little bit chilly. So it'll be a fun one.
There you go. Yeah, and Brady Hoke, who go figure. Brady Hoke or Rocky Long, they're going to run the ball and play tough defense at San Diego State. That'll be fun to watch. Hey, Aaron, thank you so much for joining me. Really, really appreciate it. And good luck with the parenting duties. And you can't spoil your wife too much at this time. Just remember that.
Exactly. No, I'm good. Actually about to order some flowers here soon and just let her know how much I appreciate her like I said, for these 4-day weekends when I'm gone on the road, and she's handling not only the little one but two dogs that have a lot of energy as well. So she's a champ for that.
All right, fantastic. Thanks again, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Reddy.
Bye-bye. Well, thank you so much to Aaron Murray for the interview. Really, really appreciate it. We're going to kind of finish off the world of sports. That was a lot of college football, so that was part of sports. But how about this part of sports? The World Series. Yep, the Dodgers, my team, and if I haven't said it enough times, I was born in Brooklyn. I grew up in LA, and we moved to LA with the Dodgers in about ’58. So yeah, I grew up a Dodger fan. That National League Series, I couldn't lose. I live in Atlanta. They were playing the Dodgers. What can I tell you? But the Dodgers and the Rays are playing. It is through Game 6 now, or through Game 5. Dodgers have a 3-2 lead. Game 6 is Tuesday night. So as you're probably getting this, they're getting ready to play Game 6. So there's a chance that my Dodgers may finally, and when I say finally, because they've been in a few of these series lately, they may finally, again, be world champions. First time since, I believe, 1988. And it's a different kind of baseball. Everybody throws a gazillion different pitchers. There are no starters that throw 9 innings. If you're a stud, you go 6. And there's one huge change on the offensive side. Nobody bunts, everybody swings hard, and everybody hits home runs. Okay, are you caught up? That's it. That's baseball now. Go Dodgers. Okay? Time now for a real good, feel-good story of the week.
This is the good news. This is the good news.
All right, feel-good story of the week. I want to introduce you to Boski, the pimpbull. Oh, you'll see. You'll see. I'm not using a derogatory term or anything. He's a pit bull, but, this doggy's got a pretty good life, and he's got some humans around him that obviously love him quite a bit. Check it out.
I was 0 years old when I met a pimpbull. This is me when I was a baby with my brother Dude and my sister Dahlia. Mom told me they wanted to protect me and be with me all the time.
Oh.
We love to give each other tons of kisses and take naps together. We napped a lot. Dude liked it when I gave food, and Dahlia loved cuddles. They were my first best friends, and I loved them so much. When I was 3 years old, Dude said goodbye to us because he got very sick. I don't remember it well, but I remember being sad. I remember Mom and Dad being very sad too, because Dude had been with Mom and Dad for a very, very long time. I went to the animal rescue, and this is where I met you. I just chew him up. I loved you so much right away. Dahlia did too. She taught you how to be a good puppy, showed you how to give the best cuddles, and asked for belly rubs. And when she was done, it was time for her to say goodbye. You followed me everywhere. You were so tiny and cute, everybody thought you were so adorable. But when you got bigger, some people thought you were scary because you're a pimple. And some people think pimples are scary, but I just don't understand because pimples are not scary at all. You are not scary at all. Pimples are squishy and cute and adorable. They love kisses and cuddles.
Jump.
They do silly things all the time. They're big babies and don't like baths. Pimples like to listen to you sing.
Take me to the pizza room.
And they like to watch you bake cookies. They are big lovers, and no matter the size difference, they can become friends with the most delicate creatures, like our Chihuahua brother, De Niro. They like stories and going on adventures. But they're also lazy and like to sleep a lot. And they like to sleep close to you, or against you, or even on you. They follow you around and want to do whatever you're doing.
Be a good boy.
They miss you when you're not there.
Are you pouting?
And they're always so happy when you come back. Because all they want is being close to you. Bowski, I know you're just a dog, but no, you're my best buddy in the whole wide world. You show me that every dog deserves to be someone's best friend. That's why me and Mom go to the animal shelter every week. I read stories to dogs waiting for a home so they don't feel too lonely. And show everyone that their next best friend is waiting for them at the animal shelter, just like you were waiting for me 5 years ago when we adopted you. Bowski, you're the best brother ever. I'm so glad I get to grow up with you. Thank you for being next to me always.
All right. Hey, what a great shot. Look at that face. Look at all three of those faces. But, yeah, now you know what a pimp bull is. It's when a kid can't say pit bull, it becomes pit bull. Great story. Great story. And thank you, as always, to the dodo for that. Want to thank you all for finding this podcast. Want to remind you where you found it. You went to randycross.com. You went to, I don't know, probably Twitter or Facebook or iTunes or any of those. Barnburner.ca. You got thegrowingtruth.com. But as always, you can always go to randycross.com to find this podcast. All right, so that'll do it. That's the explanation. And now we're ready again for at least one more week of the PPE fails and happy trails.